You've trained, I enjoy coaching at work, outside of work as well. And a lot of my success, I think, comes from a sports kind of approach where you visualize success, you visualize that negotiation going well, that opening being very strong and very positive. What are your comments on, the tone and how you open the negotiation that are
That's interesting because I married a ex-professional athlete who also has a master's degree in applied math, so sort of a jock and a geek at the same time.
yeah,
And so
yeah.
I've watched him use all the sports analogies to assist people, whether it be in calculus or basketball or others. So it's really interesting for me. But I came from a family where the arts was valued a lot more than sports. And interestingly, the same sort of visualization or how are you successful are
Hmm.
true. And even like I modeled early days, and you had to visualize yourself walking down the runway because again, there's a physical element to that. So I think a lot of the techniques that people use for sports, like when I was a
Hmm.
litigator too, a lot of ex-sports athletes, they apply much more generally. And I've come to understand whether you're sporting or not, like that ability to operate within a team is really, really valuable. How I start negotiations really depends on the situation. And I generally think it's valuable to open providing opportunities to the other side to present what it is that they're trying to get out of the negotiation. There's a great book, if you haven't read it, that I think is seminal for all negotiators, and it's
Yep.
called Getting to Yes. And it
Getting to
really
yes.
talks about value-based negotiators and understanding, and I think actually even more critical than your opening in the negotiation, what have you done ahead of the negotiation to understand what the other party wants?
Yeah.
Because I think essentially, again, a framing that Scott Works uses is how do you give the other side what they want? So again, it's a mental shift. You're trying to give the other side what they want, not get what you want
Right. Yep.
on terms you can accept. So again, it still has to work for you, but like doing that mind shift that you're there to make sure you can give the other side what they want in a way
Absolutely.
that
Yep.
works for you too. So it really does shift the focus to I need to spend a lot of time understanding what the other side wants in order to understand how to get them to do what I want them to do, but it also
Yeah.
serves their interests. So again, back to that relationship, it ends up being a win-win. But that really is a mental shift because I think the one area of sports that doesn't translate well into value-based negotiation is that there's a winner and a loser.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
there shouldn't be. And I think my husband and I are like we argue on, I work in the field of gray with law and negotiation, where I think sports and math have a right answer, a wrong answer, a winner and a loser. And that's where I think the sports analogy can break down a bit of, if you have a loser in a negotiation, I feel like there's probably something that could have been done better. um,
Hmm.
Certainly that person, if they have an opportunity to breach that agreement, will do that because they will not be happy. And I think you do want people to feel like, agreements at the end of the day are fair. Even if they don't like them, they're fair, because then you're not renegotiating all the time, which obviously is the risk of getting a very imbalanced agreement where you feel good about it, but the other side is constantly looking how to get out of it.
Look at life as a sport, not as a war, because in war there are no winners.
That's interesting. Well, and I do think if you really think that participating in sports and the joy of being part of a team
Hmm.
causes everyone to be a winner, then I think the analogy holds. And my husband had a state championship basketball team here in Washington, and there was one guy on the team who was very short. He didn't get to play very much. He was actually the state tennis champion for 3 years running as an individual, but he told the whole team that his greatest joy was actually winning the basketball state championship as a bench player than winning the tennis championships as an individual. So I do think there is a winning that comes from doing things jointly that you don't. And
Sure.
war to me is everybody
Yeah.
loses.
Yeah. Of
Everybody.
course. Yeah.
Like war is like the worst way to resolve any sort of conflict. And I think
Yeah.
sports gives you a more friendly way to resolve some of the
Of
conflicts.
course.
And I
Yeah.
think there's lots to be learned from both.